Summer season vegetables are going to be things that need warm weather, not just they need warm air temperatures and warm soil.
Hi, welcome to Lilies and Tomatoes, your go-to place for simple and practical tips and tricks on how to start a garden all the way through how to use what you grow. This is from my live class that I teach on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays on Facebook. If you'd like to attend a live class or ask me a question, check out the link in the description.
Hello. Welcome back to my basement workshop. Today we're going to be talking about the spring garden season and the summer garden season and what you plant during each of those seasons. If we have not met before, my name is Quincey Adams and I want to help you grow some of your own food in a small space on a budget. Let's get started. Okay, so the whole spring season, summer season, there's not really a definition for those. Spring season really for gardeners means when it's safe to plant your cool weather vegetables outside. And summer just means that's when you've reached the temperatures required to keep your warm season vegetables alive. Cool season vegetables, some of them can handle a frost. That means they can still be viable if the weather goes below freezing. That's 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Celsius. They may still grow slowly in those cold temperatures. It depends on how much sun they're getting during the day. So for a lot of times, like the spring season generally starts, vegetables that have been started by seed indoors get hardened off, and then they go outside in cooler weather, up like near the last frost date, and then up and after the frost date for vegetables that cannot handle the frost, but they're cool season vegetables. In the comments, I put a link to the Farmer's Almanac so you can tell when the last frost date is for your zone, just to give you an example of like when it can be. For zone 1, that's for the zone north in the United States, their last frost date is going to be somewhere in late May to early June, and their first frost date in the fall is going to be somewhere in late August. So they're going to be planting their spring crops, their cool season crops, right before the last frost date, and then up until after, and then as it warms up, they're going to put their summer season crops out, and then the summer season crops are going to die around the time of the last frost date in late August. So they have a very short growing season there. But I'll give you some examples of things that you can grow cool season wet vegetables. They're going to be brassicas. Brassicas are things like cabbage, radishes, turnips, all of those types of things, rutabagas, those things. Celery, salad greens, that's all your lettuces, arugula, all that kind of stuff. Garlic, peas, leeks, onions, potatoes, and spinach. So all of those things are going to, particularly the brassicas and the salad greens, when the weather gets too hot for them, they're going to bolt. What bolting is when the flower or the plant sets a flower stalk, and then that flower stalk sets flowers, and then the flowers get pollinated by pollinators, mostly bees and other flying insects, and then they set their seeds so they can reproduce. Fruits are always going to be setting flowers and seeds, but vegetables like salad greens, radishes, those kinds of things, they do not normally have flowers. And a lot of times when they bolt, they start to get really bitter. So you don't want to try to grow them out of their season because you're not going to get good results. Summer season vegetables are going to be things that need warm weather, not just they need warm air temperatures and warm soil. So a lot of times you'll see it's not just the frost date. You're going to have gardeners waiting for certain overnight temperatures in order to put things out. If you're growing tomatoes, a lot of times people will say, oh, well, I don't put my tomatoes out before May 1st or Mother's Day or Memorial Day because they're waiting for the air temperatures and the soil temperatures to be above generally at least 45 to 50. And peppers, particularly hot peppers, they need temperatures to be a little bit warmer than that. So those are usually like peppers and eggplants are the last things that you're going to put out in the summertime. Summer vegetables are going to be beans, corn, cucumbers, eggplants, okra, tomatoes, melons, peppers, squash, sweet potatoes, and annual herbs. Perennial herbs, you can put them out anytime, and they're going to just keep on going because they're perennial. So do I have any questions on that? Cool season, those are things that like to grow in the cold weather. Warm season, things that like to grow in warm weather. Winter squash is a summer vegetable. It's called winter squash because it grows a thicker skin and it can be stored for a long time, but it is not grown in the winter. Just a little heads up for you guys. If you're thinking about growing watermelons or pumpkins or anything like that, those things need to be started soon, if not already, depending on your zone. If you're starting things by seed, read the instructions on the packet. A lot of times for cold season, or actually for warm season vegetables, they're going to tell you to start the seeds inside at least 6 to 12 inches before your last frost date for your growing zone. Because some things like sweet potatoes, they don't have seeds, but they need a really long warm season. So if your growing season in warm weather isn't at least 120 days, you're not going to be able to grow sweet potatoes where you're at. You're only going to be able to grow small varieties of melons, small varieties of squash and zucchini. You're not going to be able to grow the gigantic watermelons because you don't have a long enough season. Do I have questions? Will you cover at some point how to recover seeds from bolting veggies? Yes, I will. I've got some Egyptian walking onions right now that set their bulbils and they're ready to be planted. I will do a video on that. And I've got some kale seeds and some spring onions that have gone to seed, and I'm just waiting for the seeds to dry out. That process takes a while. My kale bolted back in, I think, February, and the seed pods, I'm just waiting for them to dry out. You have to wait for the seed pods to be fully mature. They're not fully mature until their casings turn brown, and so if you pick them too early, the seeds are not going to be viable. Question. Oh, nope, that's the same question. Okay, so if you've got something that bolted and you want to keep the seeds from it, you need to let it go. You need to leave it in the ground or in the container, wherever it's at, and expect it to take a good while, a couple months, in order for it to set flowers, for those flowers to be pollinated, and for the seeds to become mature before you can harvest them. And it's going to be different on most vegetables, but you definitely need to wait for it to dry out. Any other questions? Questions? Going once, going twice. Okay, real quick, some housekeeping. If you have any questions, drop them below. It doesn't matter if you're watching the replay or if you're watching this on YouTube. Drop your questions and I will get back to you. If you just have a random question at some other time, you can send me an email. My email is Quincey@liliesandtomatoes.com. That is QUINCEY @liliesandtomatoes.com. Is that no more questions? Then I will let you guys go for tonight. I hope that was helpful. And let me know what questions you have about gardening and drop them below. And I will make some content for that. I do have my content planned out for the next 2 weeks. But if we need to go over something or if an opportunity arises, then we will change that slightly. Have a good night. Bye.